Okay, so small reminder before I start my video. Please subscribe if you are interested and leave a comment to help improve my video. Thanks. Alright, so we are back with Venus Improbable Dream. So as you can see, the skip button is highlighted because I already played the game for quite some time but decided that, well, my voice isn't loud enough. So here we are again, continuing from the moment Akane's think about things in his room. Her, his, perhaps, or they, who knows, I don't know their pronouns. Let's continue. If I was never around for people to bully, never gave friendlier people a chance to reject me, then life would be easier. Oh. My parents wouldn't have to witness failure after failure. I just cease to exist in the eyes of my fellow students. Oh. So that's what I try to do, and for the most part, I succeed. Life became quiet. I became a background character in the narrative of my own story, though my heart still beat and breathed, still filled my lungs. I was as lifeless as the plastic of the chair that currently supports my weight. Oh, this is so sad. A pointless existence. Pointless, but quiet. Interesting. It's the best I can do. I might graduate from compulsory education next year, but that doesn't mean that anything will change for me. I'll be the outcast no matter where I go, and there is no point denying it. That's why I can't join the music club. Sitting here, zoning out with my controller hanging loosely in my hand, I accept that as the truth. I'll never belong in a place like that now, and I don't think I ever will. Besides, the way that girl had looked at me was awful. A little bit of spoiler. No, the girl wasn't looking at you. Her horror at my disfigurement had been clear as day, and her eyes are now permanently etched into my brain. Retrieving my consciousness from the realms of deep thought, I fixed my gaze on the TV screen again, starting a new level. What are you playing, by the way? An RPG? I have no choice but to say no. Well, you have other choice, I think. Who knows? And Matsumoto Sensei. That is disappointing to hear, Akane. Disappointing indeed. Disappointing, a word that seems to be synonymous with anything I do. The first word that he greets us with is disappointing. Interesting. It's Thursday and Matsumoto Sensei had called me before lunch again to ask how the music club meeting went yesterday. I'm doing my best to tell him that I don't want to be a part of it. Was Kudo not appreciative of your piano playing? No, he's fine. No, he was nice. Forward this time, somebody shut me up. I'd mean them too. Kudo-sensei had been considerate about my issues when integrating me into the music club. That wasn't the problem. Well, in that case, I don't see why another trial should be too difficult. Breaking the ice is the most troublesome part of starting a new indie world like this, and you have already done it. Oh, Matsumoto-sensei trying to be nice, but that doesn't work. It doesn't work like that, Matsumoto. Though his speech and body language are as stiff and professional as ever, I get the feeling that he's trying to encourage me. No. He definitely tried to do that. What do you say, Akane? Would you give it another shot? Probably. Or yes. I'm being ordered around in disguise again, aren't I? Yeah. I honestly can't agree to something that will cause me more discomfort, and though I want to give him some sort of answer, I find myself stuck, unable to formulate a response. Matsumoto-sensei seems to sense this. Well, you can have the rest of the day to think it over. If I were you, I make the most of opportunity. You might enjoy yourself once you settle down. nods awkwardly, seeming to want to express some sort of reassurance towards me, though he's not very eloquent at it. I don't think a hug is in his physical vocabulary. Alright. Not that I want one. I bow slightly in response, the end of our conversation reminding me urgently of my number one objective: get away from everybody. Time for lunch. Silence. I have made a decision. Lunchtime had given me some time to ponder Matsumoto-sensei's word, and I realized two things. First, I still don't want to be in the music club. Second, it would be rude of me to just disappear without talking to Kudo-sensei first. Indeed. Even if he hadn't noticed me sneaking out of the room early, he would have realized by the end of the club meeting that I was no longer there. I feel a pang of guilt knowing how spineless that was. Not that I could help it. I had to get out. But Kudo-sensei still deserves an explanation. I might be Mr. Invincible, but I still have enough of a conscience to realize that if I am not going to join his club, I should tell him in person. That is basic respect. I'm not exactly thrilled about the idea of putting myself on display in front of an entire room full of people who also witness my disappearing act, but if it's get this thing over and done with, then I'll do it. Which it will not. Then I never have to go back there again. I really doubt that. That's the thought that fills my head as I pack my things away, conscious that the last class of the day is about to be over. Donning my backpack, I wait impatiently for the bell. As always, I prefer to be the first person out of the room to avoid the crush of human traffic from everybody else. As soon as it rings, I dart toward the door, exiting into the corridor before anybody else has fully left their seat. I am speed. Empty hallways. That's how I like it. I stride purposely towards the music class room despite my fluttering nerves. I just want to put an end to this and have things go back to the way they were before. That's a nice transition. My legs, trained by now to carry me as swiftly as possible, get me to the club room in no time. I'm not even sure Kudo-sensei will be here yet. After hesitating for a moment, I swallow my fear and push on the door. And there you go. Yep, you are lucky indeed. Akane, you almost beat me here. He regards me with a casual smile. He really is the polar opposite of Matsumoto-sensei. The fact that only the two of us are currently in the room gives me the opportunity I need to talk to him. It will be much better with less people around. Sensei? Just spit it out, Kakeru. It isn't that hard, darn it. Sorry for yesterday. His expression changed a little once I say this. That's not a little, that's a lot. Ah yes, wondered where you gone for a moment. Cringe. Cringe. Sorry, Sensei, I can't help being a coward. Cringe. She didn't scare you too much, did she? Cringe. Alright, let's continue. She, the girl in the back of the room, how does he know about that? Well, she is a part of the member of the club, by the way. I saw that you explored the other room. I probably should have warned you about her. So he noticed me creeping around after all. He doesn't seem mad though. If anything, he looks a little apologetic. I was in two minds as to whether to introduce you or not. It could have been easier to go down that road. He seems to muse this aloud to himself as opposed to telling it to me. However, he pulls himself together quickly. Fujiwara Haruka. It's something of a special case. She hasn't joined the group session, but she practiced the flute by herself. That's not really in the rules of the club, but she has a special case. Her mouth twists into a pitiful frown. We gave her the benefit of the Well, not exactly terrified. Kudo-sensei almost looked amused for a second. I bet you gave her a bit of a shock barging in there. She tends to get flustered around new people. Indeed. The part of his sentence I can empathize with wholeheartedly, but it's the last part that throws me for a loop. Considering that she's blind. So what are you afraid of, Akane? Blind? I heard the door open behind me as a gaggle of club member enters noisily. It startles me, but at the same time the impact is dampened slightly by my state of contemplation. That girl who stared at me as though she'd seen the devil incarnate was blind? Yep. It really takes me a moment to wrap my head around what Kudo-sensei has told me, as if knowing exactly what I'm thinking, he moves his attention away from me momentarily, greeting the other student arriving. She really hadn't seen me at all? Yep. The thought is strangely jarring, as her horrified expression had seemed to suggest that she was perfectly capable of seeing the monstrosity that had been in front of her. However, the more I think about it, the more I correlate it to my own feelings. I can't stand meeting new people, I just panic. It must have been scary for her to have somebody burst into the room and then realize that she didn't know the person after hearing him speak. Yep, indeed. I must have really spooked her. Spooky. I almost laughed a lot at the idea that I could scare someone more than they could scare me. Miracles are possible after all. Before I can continue down this path of thought, Kudo-sensei speaks again, rousing me back to the room. Anyway, that's that. I'm sure there's no real harm done. He peers across the room, counting the heads of the students present, and as I take a quick glance myself, I almost jump at the sight of them all. Jeez, the room filled up fast. Indeed. You're deep in your thoughts, aren't you? Seeming satisfied, Kudo-sensei turns back to me with a smile. Right, seeing as everyone just about here, let's get started, shall we? And there's no escape for you. For God's sake. I got wrapped up thinking about what he told me that I haven't even had chance to tell him that I don't want to be in the music club. The room is filled with an enthusiastic buzz as it had been yesterday. For a moment, I considered going ahead with my bad news, but seeing Kudo-sensei's encouraging expression coupled with how awkward I feel standing at the front instead of sitting at the piano, I grudgingly relent. Alright, try it one more time. I nod briefly, swiveling to make my way skittishly across the room and avoiding eye contact with everybody around me. I can't say that taking up the piano stool feels any more comfortable than it had yesterday, but I sit down anyway. Sighing quietly, I resign myself to another 2 hours of torture. 2 hours of torture? Alright, that is free practice everyone. Be sure to work on your timekeeping as always. Chatter breaks out in the room and a flurry of movement erupts as people splinter off into their usual practice groups. Not a part of any of them, I continue to spit. Why do I read it as spit? Because of this, SP and this sit. Sorry about that. Sit despondently at the piano. It had been basically the same as yesterday. I struggled to stumble my way through the piece and I hadn't displayed a shred of improvement. After a few runs through, I'd been asked to sit out while the rest of the group played through the other pieces they have been practicing since before I got involved. It was a relief to have nothing to do for a while, but then the group session had closed with another rendition of the piece I'd been trying to play to the same result. Now I understand why this free practice period is so important. It gives people a chance to go through their individual parts at length, rehearsing as much as they need in order to keep getting better at their instruments. For someone like me who doesn't have access to a piano outside of this club, it is invaluable. I'm still not wanting to come back for another club meeting, the embarrassment of it all too much to handle on a regular basis. But for the remainder of this one, I might as well at least look like I'm trying to practice. Placing my hands back into the keys, I read the sheet music again, trying to get my play more fluid. However, it's proving to be difficult. Not only because I'm still incredibly self-conscious about practicing into a room full of musicians that are better than me, but also because I can't get something out of my head. Aha, the girl. Yep, that girl. I really didn't see any information that Kudo-sensei told me coming. Not only it is surprising to learn about her disability, but I also felt terrible for essentially terrifying a poor blind girl with my clumsiness. I'm such an idiot. Could be. Trying to shake it off, I continue to power the piano distractedly until footsteps tell me that Kudo-sensei is approaching. Oh, isn't it? Not so tough, isn't it, Akane? Getting to know a new piece? Indeed. Oops, sorry. I nod, my gaze at his feet rather than his face. You can always ask any of the club members for help. They don't bite. Well, I haven't been bited yet anyway. Do you want to? Would you want to? He grins at his own joke and I almost join in. Although, he looks thoughtful for a second and I can figure out what he's contemplating. Thankfully, I don't have to wait long to find out. Go and introduce yourself to Fujiwara. He seems serious about it and I'm taken aback by the sudden suggestion. I know that being in a big room like this is probably a bit uncomfortable for you. Fujiwara's the same. Have a chat with her, I bet you two would have a lot in common. I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean. Other than the anxiety around people, I don't think I can relate much to a blind girl who somehow plays the flute even more effectively than I can play hide and seek from the rest of the world. And I am damn good at that. Nevertheless, Kudo-sensei continued to push the point. I don't mind if you take things slowly, Akane. Practice is important, but you need to familiarize yourself with things first. If talking to someone you might feel more comfortable around first will help to put you more at ease here, then go for it. I don't think it is that easy. He is a nice guy. Perhaps it's the musician in him. He is more in touch with emotions and deep concepts and all that stuff artsy people are supposed to be good at. What do you mean by that? What stuff? Oh no. As an artsy people I don't understand, but I don't know. Am I an artsy people person? Who knows? At first, I'm not sure what to say to his suggestion, but as the unsettling image of the girl's scared expression comes up in my mind again, I realize that I should at least say sorry for doing that to her. Alright. My second apology of the day. I'm doing a great job. Indeed. Cautiously nod at Kudo-sensei, indicating that I'll take him up on it. He seems satisfied, smiling and stepping backwards to give me room to stand up. Just take it easy today. You can start getting down to some proper work next week. Alright then. Next week. Then you can't avoid the next meeting then. Oh no. He turns away, heading across to talk to a group of students, leaving me to internally thank him for being so understanding. It is awkward to just stand up and leave the room in the middle of free practice, but at least this time I've been granted permission. And I also promise. As I enter the quiet of the hallway, the sounds of the other musicians muffled by the walls. I make my way hesitantly towards the door of the other room. This feels very wrong in a number of ways, and I definitely don't feel confident about it at all. I just hope she can forgive me for yesterday. I think she will. The sound of the flute catches my ear again. She's practicing the same piece as before. Realizing that I should probably announce my presence before I go strutting in there this time, I raise my hand and knock timidly on the door. She might not have said anything in response, but she definitely heard that. Yep. Taking a large breath, I open the door. The light in the room might still be bright, but thanks to its small size and near empty state, it feels slightly less intimidating. I let the door close behind me, blocking out most of the sound produced by the other club members. Just me and her, who is scared. Oh no. Hi, it's me. She continues to look in my direction, bewildered. from yesterday. And there you go. The slight shift, not serve. Why do I want to? Because of her and chef, I want to read it as serve. Her body stays just as rigid as mine. I take a proper glance at her. Her eyelids meet my chest, not really looking at me but aware of my general position in the room. That's when the revelation hits me again. She can't see your face, Kakeru. The entire reason for my social anxiety is not applicable to this situation, it is an impossibility. Indeed. I almost don't believe it. It takes me a moment, but after hammering it into my head a few times, I manage to find a tiny scrap of confidence from the fact and open my mouth to speak again. Sorry. Sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. Feeling as though I have momentarily turned into a different person, I dare to look her in the eyes. For just a moment, her gaze softens a little. That is okay. The soft sound of her voice is so delicate I barely hear her. We both stand there for a moment, a tremendous amount of awkwardness. I can see that. I can feel it. Hanging in the air between us, but at the same time it doesn't feel like it does when I'm in class or in the club room with everybody else. It's ever so slightly more bearable. It seems as though I'm just about forgiven for my trespassing, so I muster the courage to speak again. I joined the club yesterday. Well, that's not entirely true from my perspective. I was kinda forced into coming. She takes a moment to process the information before replying. Do you play the piano? Yes. How does she know? Well, I mean, before you join, there's nobody else who plays the piano. She will have been overhearing the rest of the club practice for months since their last pianist left. The sudden reappearance of its sound will have given it away. Yeah, it's me. She nods. Nods in what? Agreement or good or bad or something? Sorry if I... Well... She struggles with her words before cutting herself off. Evidently unable to express herself properly. I know exactly how that feels. Oh, poor Kakeru. And Fujiwara. She looks a little regretful before she managed to speak again. I don't get visitors here. I realize that she's referring to how she looked at me yesterday, knowing that it was simply a fear of being exposed to a random person and not of my appearance. I don't feel mad at all. No, it was my fault. My admission still doesn't alter the guilt on her face, and it makes me feel bad for her. She must worry about stop. Wait. She must worry about how her reaction to people affect them. There we go, not her reaction. Thinking about our similarities, I force myself to keep talking, trying to demonstrate some common ground. Actually, I'm kinda jealous that you practice in here. I don't like crowds. Silence, and haven't spoken this much in years, and it's making me a bit dizzy. After averting my eyes to steady myself, I look up again. She claps her hand around her flute, looking thoughtful. And... come on. Me neither. Oh, still not? I thought she will change her expression. I feel as though I don't like crowd is a bit of understatement, so I awkwardly try to explain myself a little further, although it's not exactly nice to talk about. Well, I try to avoid people, they make me nervous. Sounds like such a baby. God. And oh yeah, and there you go. Looking away again, oh, still not, I think. You know, because I have already seen the part, I just re-record because I feel my voice isn't good enough. I thought she will change her expression, but apparently not. I think I misremember something, I don't know. There's another piano, yeah, and the girl's cane, the long stick that helped her with navigation. things must be very difficult for her. Huh? Uh-huh. It takes me a second to realize that the tiny nose she just emitted was actually a very timid laugh. Haha. What kind of laugh is that? Like, ha. And yeah, and there you go. When I look at her, she seems to have relaxed a little, smiling ever so slightly. I'm the same. I feel my own breath rush out of me in something resembling relief, and the feeling is utterly odd to me. How I am this calm right now. Does the fact that she can see what I am insecure about really change things this much? Well, I'm not exactly calm, but still, this is the easiest I feel around anyone for a long time. It is so unfamiliar that I'm not even sure if I like it or not, as stupid as that sounds. However, it seems as though my admission of my anxiety around people has struck a chord with her. Kudo-sensei was right. We do have similarities, not similarities. I almost said similarities like that. It's similarities. Wait, did I just did it? No. Aha! I suddenly realized that I have committed under a social blunder and that I haven't introduced myself. Ooh, okay, another blunder, nice. I'm Akane, by the way. Akane Kakeru. I feel my face begin to flush with heat. I don't think I have said my own name aloud once since I started at the school. She nods in recognition. I am Fujiwara Haruka. She grips her flute a little tighter again, seeming to be thinking about something. It's not so bad now. We are not really strangers anymore. She blushes slightly as she says this, her face tilting towards the ground, and I feel myself wanting to smile internally at her somewhat innocent, childlike point. No, I guess we are not. The conversation runs dry, and though I haven't checked the clock on the wall, I become conscious that I must be taking up a lot of Haruka's time when she could be practicing. I should probably let you play. She glanced toward her instrument almost as though she forgotten about it before nodding in agreement. I reached for the door, pulling it open gently. See ya. Despite the fact that she can see it, I bow my head, probably in one last apology for encroaching on her personal space. Just as I am stepping through the doorway, the sound of her voice reaches my ears again. I pause, looking back into the room. For a moment, she doesn't speak, and clumsily, I realize that she probably isn't sure if I'm still there or not. You know, one of the points that I love from this visual novel so far is that it really explains in detail the experience of people who, you know, not healthy. Yeah, not healthy. People who are not healthy, who are ill. It really does a good job at it, like this one. So what I like about this is that it just doesn't use the trait as something to, you know, slap on a character, but also use it as really the aspect of the character, like this one here. You know, like really making the character alive. Okay, let's continue. Yes, it seems like the right move as she relaxes a little at my voice, so fidgets with her flute before continuing. If you wanted to talk again. Her expression grows nervous as she pauses, but after a second she regains her focus. I wouldn't mind. The word catches me off guard. Our second encounter has been truly awkward and embarrassing, but amongst it all, there was something that made me feel like being around her is just that little bit less uncomfortable than others. Oops, sorry. In that way, I understand what she means. Still unsure of how I feel and what I'm really saying, I find myself replying with a single word. Okay. Evening are always the same. I came home from school, go straight to my room and do my homework. At some point, one of my parents pops in momentarily to deliver me a plate of whatever's for dinner. It is shameful, but I haven't eaten dinner at the table with them for a long time. Once I'm done eating, I usually give into the urge to fritter away the rest of the night playing video games until I go to sleep. I'm about to just do that. Finishing the last of my meal, I set my chopsticks down and recline, feeling full. I'll get up and turn the game console on in a minute. Feeling lethargic, a yawn escapes me, and with nothing to focus on, my mind wanders back to the events of the day. What a strange experience. I actually spoken to Haruka on my own volition, and not only that, I said full sentence, several of them. If I weren't acutely aware of how full my stomach feels right now, I suspect that my body was being possessed by someone who is actually good at talking to people. The whole thing has been weird, but I guess it wasn't horrible. Still nerve-wracking though. As I'm pondering this, I recall the image of Haruka Kane propped against the piano. I really can't imagine what it's like to be blind. It is just too confusing. How she learned to get by all this time with such a limit to her sense is mind-boggling. The more I think about it, the less I seem to be able to wrap my head around it. I remember there being a music stand there too with her sheet music on it. How on earth does she use it? Confusing indeed. I realized that the music is mainly about sound, so technically there's nothing really stopping her from being good at the flute. Which she seems to be. You just think that learning pieces will be extra difficult for her. I consider her place in the music club. She doesn't join in with the group activity, she doesn't seem to play the same piece as the others do. She just keeps to herself in that little room doing whatever she likes, I guess. In that case, why she is in the club? Does she really count as a member if she doesn't contribute anything? Interesting. Kuda-sensei had given me the impression that she'd been allowed this freedom because of her anxiety around people. I guess she can stand playing music with the others. How about you? Ditto. What do you mean by ditto? This is a reference, but I don't get it. It's a Pokemon reference. Ditto? Like, same like you? Mimicry? It is quite sad to think about it that way though. It's as if she's just been tucked away in the back of the room and forgotten about, seemingly incapable of doing anything of real value to anyone. As this thought ran through my mind, another one joined it, something that Kuda-sensei had said multiple times. I bet you two would have a lot in common. That suggestion doesn't seem so great, considering Haruka this way. Is that why he practically sends me to go talk to her because he knows I'm going to be useless in the— No. I don't know, but I don't think it is. Shove the two special kids together and hope they become a nice pair of dumb friends. No. I sighed audibly, trying to shake off the notion. That's probably not the intention behind it, yep. Also, that whole train of thought was rude on Haruka's part. My shoulders sank a little in guilt. Okay, I think I have to end the video right here because it's been 30 minutes. So see you later in the next part of the video. Bye bye.